Okay. Yeah. I'll just start. I'll do it in chronological order. How I kind of got to where what I'm doing today. It started in for me started around probably the early '80s or late '70s when I first heard rap music. At the time I was kind of just listening to mainstream music, and I thought it was really cool. I didn't know it was going to become such a big part of my life at the time, but in '83. Uh, this trend just kind of like took the world by storm. It's called breakdancing, and pretty much everyone was doing it. Even people who weren't really into like rap music per se, like there was a lot of people that just jumped on it. So um, I was just like the other kids. I started breaking, and along with the breaking came the rap music, and it gave me a sense of belonging because up until that point, I was just a little, little chubby fat Mexican kid, and you know, wasn't necessarily popular. It wasn't this, wasn't like picked on or anything. But the thing about hip hop is if you could become good at something, you would earn respect, or people would treat you with respect. Um, so, I wasn't good at breaking at the beginning, but after about a year or so, I got pretty good. And then you started getting, it builds up your self esteem, lost the weight, started getting attention from females, all this stuff. So it was great. But the thing is trends only last so long. And after about a year and a half, breaking was about the least cool thing you could do. Everyone was pretty much stopping, and we were growing up and moving on to other things. Um, so some of the people in my neighborhood started doing graffiti, and at first I was like, oh, that's cool. And one of my friends was into it a little bit more than myself, so I would help him go paint his pieces. And after doing that a few times, I decided I wanted to do it as well. So yeah, I tried it. I liked it, and again, it was like breaking in this or breaking in the sense that like people would admire you if you could do it well. People would treat you with respect and admiration, and all the things that everyone wants, right? So, um, let me see. Check my notes here. So, did that for a few years. I had even gotten in trouble because I painted like the backstops of like a rival high school, and um, I was bragging about it because of course you don't want to do this stuff and have no one know. So I was showing photos to this girl who was sitting next to me in high school, and turns out that she was an undercover sheriff, and she was there to catch people for selling drugs. So thankfully, I wasn't selling drugs, but I was doing graffiti, and she, told her coworkers or whatever. So they eventually caught up to us, but at that time it was kind of a new crime. I mean, there was graffiti going on, but it wasn't like today where it was really a thing. It was kind of new at that point. So we got a little slap on the wrist. We had to do some community service. I never really got arrested, but the sheriffs did come to my school and made sure the school gave us community service and all that stuff. So I kind of fell off a little bit with graffiti towards the end of high school, because I had to graduate. I kind of screwed off the first few years of high school. Just, for me at the time when I went to school, um, my mom was a breadwinner and she did very well at that, but they didn't really emphasize doing well in school and going to college. So after I got out of high school, or in order to graduate, I had to do like ROP classes where you work at a business and you can obtain credits in order to play catch up on the credits that I missed for the classes that I failed when I was in a freshman and a junior, or was it junior? Freshman and sophomore. So I kind of stopped doing graffiti so much, and then right after high school I went to work, and I worked at my uncle's restaurant, and I worked at Target. Um, and then I ended up getting an opportunity to be part of uh, a program called the San Diego College of Retailing, which was put together by a guy named Saul Price, who created the Price Club, which today is known as Costco. And this was the program for what they considered at the time to be like at-risk youth. And my mom, maybe wasn't as at risk as a lot of the other kids in there, but my mom knew people, so she was able to get me into the program, which got me a good job at Costco. And as part of the program, we worked in every facet of the operation of the store. So we did cashier, we did stocking, we worked in customer service. There was a number of aspects, but I say this to kind of like point out how some of these things that you do early in life, you kind of don't realize how they're going to affect you later in life. And I'll backtrack a little bit. In order to graduate high school, when I did ROP, which is, I think it's a regional occupancy program where you work at a business in order to gain extra credits. So I had to, get off school, go to work. I specialized in retailing. It's not because I loved retailing or anything, or really even knew anything about it. It's just, it was the easiest way for me to get the credits to graduate high school. And again, when I went to the San Diego College of Retailing, it wasn't because I had any specific interest in it. It's just the opportunity that fell in my lap that I seized. So it was an opportunity to get a better paying job than I had at the time. But a lot of those skills that I learned there, because in that job, we did 8 hours in the class, 32 hours working in the warehouse. In the class, they would teach us a lot about the principles of selling, of merchandising, and buying things and selling them. And at the time, I really had no interest in owning my own business. I just wanted a good job. But a lot of those things came in handy later on. So after working there for a few years, I got into working in a photo lab, because I was working in a photo lab, and the one that I was working in was actually going out of business. And a gentleman came in and was looking at the machines because he had heard that this particular business was going under. And he offered me, he told me, hey, if you need a job, here's my business card, give me a call. So I did need a job. The place was going out of business. So I called him, and I ended up working for that guy for about 9 years. And he had a couple photo labs. One was a photo lab and video store. And in that job, I learned how to, it wasn't a great job, but I did learn some things. And some of these things that I learned there were vital to what I do right now, which is learning how to take bad photos or poorly taken photos and make them look good. A lot of times when you'll take a photo, it'll come out with like a yellow tint or a magenta tint, or the lighting's off. So you have to know how to balance things to correct. If you want to look like a big brand, your photo's got to look professional. So I learned how to do that. But I was just doing it for my customers at the time. And my coworker he had a bunch of like illegal software back then. They always used to come on CDs. And one day he's like, here, take this Photoshop disk home and put it on your computer. So I did, and I played around with it. I didn't do too much with it. I thought it was kind of cool, but I didn't really know what to do with it until one day a customer came in, and they had a photo with her and her ex-boyfriend and maybe some other people, and she wanted the ex-boyfriend removed from the photo. So my coworker's like, here, take this home, see if you can get that out here, and print it for her. So I took it home. I figured out how to remove the boyfriend from the photo, and I printed it. And I took it to work, and just like that, a little side business was started for me, where I started making copies of photos of people who didn't really have like back then you needed a negative to get a photo printed. So if you lost your negative, you weren't really able to get copies. So I would scan photos, make people copies, or make adjustments to the photos. I would also restore photos. So if you had a photo that was really old and it was like all torn up and maybe got water damage, I fix those up as well. Sorry, I was getting a call. One moment. So yeah, I learned how to do Photoshop. I started playing around with it. Started doing photo restoration, making a little bit of like some decent side money for the time. And I started toying around with it with some graffiti. And at one point I figured out that I could take my drawings, put them in there, and add color to them. And that was kind of the light bulb moment that I could use this to do the clothing line that I've been wanting to do since I was a teenager. So like when we were in our teens and like say around like 87, 86, kind of like after breaking, we would buy like white t-shirts that just had like say like an Adidas logo or a Fila logo, and then we would paint them with acrylics and paint our own characters on there. Um, and I even did like other shirts where I did the whole back and I painted by hand, and but I didn't really know how to actually do like a clothing brand. It didn't really. I mean, I like making it, but I didn't really have the idea of like mass creating it. But until I saw other people doing it, so there were a couple brands from San Diego. One still exists. Actually, they both still exist, but Tribal is still pretty big. Um, they were one of the inspirations that I saw that were doing it, but I wanted to do something a little bit different from them. The other brand is my friends. It's called Top to Bottom. Also, like really, really great artwork. But they were mostly focused on characters, and their characters were amazing. And Tribal had a lot of character stuff, and they had a lot of skating stuff and a lot of stuff geared toward people who do tattoos and do low riding. But the vision that myself and my partner at the time had, we wanted to do something that just represented hip hop exclusively, and we wanted to represent like graffiti like it looks on a wall. So like wild style graffiti, like not necessarily easy to read, but something more authentic to what you would actually see if you were going through the alleys or something like that. So we had this idea to get the brand started for a bunch of years, but we couldn't think of a name that was like catchy. So it kind of just sat on the back burner for a long time because we just couldn't really come up with a catchy name. And at one point, we had made a couple dozen hats for our crew, which is our graffiti crew. It's a group of guys that kind of we're all friends. We all paint together. We all have similar style. So we made a few dozen hats for the members of our crew. And in order to get them made, I think we had to have like 3 or 4 dozen produced. So after everyone bought 1 or 2 hats, we still had a couple dozen left. So there, around that time, there was an event that came to San Diego called the B-Boy Summit, which is a big breakdancing, hip hop. I guess you could call it maybe like a festival or like a summit, yeah. And so we went to the event, and we just watched and everything. And on the last day of the event, they have what's called a park jam, where everyone just went to the Embarcadero Park down there by Seaport Village and barbecued and hung out and played music and things like that. So me and my partner, we grabbed our canvases that we had and the leftover hats that we had, and we displayed them on the back of my car. And that was another light bulb moment for us, because we sold every single hat that we had brought with us, and not a single person asked what it meant. They all said WST, with for Wild Style Technicians. but yeah, they bought them all, and no one asked what it meant. So my partner even sold the hat off his head. So that's when we realized we don't really need to think of like a catchy name. As long as it looks cool, they're going to buy it. So we just decided to run with our crew name for the business. So we spent a couple years uh, gathering designs, um, kind of plotting and planning, um, and we modeled our business after tribal to a certain extent in terms of like seeing what they did that was successful and doing the same things. So it wasn't a thing where we would like necessarily copy their artwork or their designs, but we saw that the way they were getting customers was going to trade shows and sponsoring people, and they had a website and all these things. So we started putting all these things in place. We eventually attended our first trade show in '99, and we sponsored a team of breakers. And it didn't take long for it to become a thing. Like me and my partner literally started with a $500 investment from him, to a $500 investment for myself, and we printed a couple designs, and we hopped on the plane and went to Seattle for an event there. And when we got off the plane, or actually when we got to the event, which was like the next day, our shirts were literally still hot off the press, and that's where we sold our first shirts at that event, and it was received well. And that was around, I want to say, '98 or '99. Um, and within about 4 years, we were doing close to like a half million in sales per year. But the market was very different back then. This is like before people were ordering anything online, really. Like if you had a website, it was more informational. There weren't really online stores until like maybe 2001 would be real early. 2003 is more like when they started to become a little more popular. So as I was um, in the early years of the business, like when we had an office downtown up until '99. That's when I met Liz. It was around '98 or '99. And she was doing a documentary called Breaking Boundaries. And she was breaking barriers. Yeah. And she was interviewing my business partner for the video. So he's in the video, and yeah, that's how we met. And then after that, I knew who she was. So then I would see her around like certain events. I remember seeing her at like the Montage or something like that, and that was popular.
Oh my
But
God. Took it way back.
yeah, but hold on.
I do want to tell you, they're only allowing me 40 minutes for the Zoom, so we
Okay,
only got like 15 minutes, Izzy.
okay,
I don't know if you want to show them some of the designs or like the printing stuff you got in the garage.
absolutely. Yep, yep.
Okay,
So
so yeah, like 15.
speed it up. All right, let's go. So 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 at that time I was doing mostly wholesale. So I was selling mostly to stores. So we would go to trade shows, collect our orders, and then ship out boxes to stores. And they would get like 60 or 100 shirts, or sometimes 120 shirts. The biggest order I probably got was 32,000, and that went to Taiwan. But around 2008, we had a recession, and as a result of the recession, a lot of the stores that were in business at the time when we started to go under. So at that point, it was like the website that I had created an online store in like 2003, and that started to become where most of the business that I was getting would come from. And pretty much now it's probably over 95% of the business comes through my website. So at this point, what I do now is everything's a little bit less in quantity. So I don't print the same amount of each design. At one point, I was doing 600 pieces on every design before I even knew anyone wanted them, before any pre-orders or anything. And now I don't print any before anyone wants any. I print the orders as they come in through the website. So I create designs, I put them on my website, and then I print them. So this is like an example of one. I don't know if you can see. I got to turn off this.
Any questions, guys?
Okay. So this is a shirt that I have here waiting to get shipped for an order. It has a, does it have a sleeve? Yeah, it has a sleeve print. Has a back print. And then I do labels, custom labels. And these ones here, most of them just like the actual brand label. Most of them just rip off. This one I have to cut off with scissors. This is a hoodie that I'm working on for another order. This is actually the same logo, but this one's just in black. Oops. Other.
I like that one. What?
These ones are still waiting to get shipped or folded and shipped. So I don't do all of these. A lot of these are done by artists that I paid one artist to do this tag. Actually, that same artist did the sketch for this part right here, or for this marker, but then I went ahead and finished it in a combination of Photoshop and Illustrator, and then I took his logo and I, the logo he created for me, and then I incorporated it with the marker, to make it look like a complete design, and then company logo down the sleeve.
And you said you used Photoshop and Illustrator?
Yes.
Okay.
It's almost, up until a few years ago, it was almost exclusively Photoshop and Illustrator and pen and paper. But recently, I've been using a lot of Procreate.
Procreate.
Which is,
and one of the questions was, what software are you proficient in? Like, if they want to pursue graphic design, like, what would be definitely ones they should learn?
I mean, I think if you can do the Adobe suite, which would be, Illustrator and Photoshop, is those two right there are very powerful.
Okay.
And then InDesign kind of works similar to those, but I don't really use those. Here's
Okay.
another one of my artists did. I didn't really do much on this one. Oops. It's like a marker.
Super dope. Some kids were curious, what is your typical turnaround time for a project?
You mean like for to do a design or to print
So, like, if they order it on the website, you say you do it per request, then what's the time?
It used to be about 2 weeks. I'd say right now I'm running to closer to 3 or 4 weeks, if not more, depending on how long they order. It's just because I'm kind of backlogged on orders right now, and I received a really big order a few months ago that's it's huge. So I've kind of had to put the other orders on the back burner until I get this big one out.
And I was telling them that you're basically a one-man show, like you're doing it all.
Yes, which is, it has its perks, but it's also it's not always the greatest thing, obviously, because it's nice to be able to have other people, so you can I've had employees in the past and it worked, but when times are slow, it's kind of hard to keep paying those employees, so sometimes you have to dial it back a little bit.
Yes.
Oops, let me see here. Trying to get back to the view where I can see you guys.
Is there a project that you're most proud of, Izzy? Like something you're like, oh man, I was so happy I was involved in that.
Yeah, there's a few. We did the art show back in like 2012 with Writer's Block at the Jacob Center. It was called Contents Under Pressure. There's a video on Facebook or I'm sorry, on YouTube that you can see on that, and that's one of the things I'm most proud of.
Okay.
Put a lot of work into it. It was only supposed to run for maybe a month or two, and they ended up keeping it up there for about 6 months because it was so popular and it had a lot of great work in there.
I remember that one. Richard, any questions? Only got like 5 minutes.
I have a question.
Anything?
So,
Izzy, there's one question for you. This is Yonte in the front.
Absolutely. Yep.
yeah, so during the recession, when the other businesses were struggling, can you detail like how you kept your business going?
Well, when the stores shut down, the only place for people to be able, some of those people, like if you lived in the Midwest and you had a skate shop that carried our stuff and they went out of business, the only place you could really get it from at that point would be to order from us directly. So I think a lot of people in those times weren't really comfortable putting their credit card information online, but they grew to accustomed to it because they really had no option, and it became popular after a little while. So yeah, it was a transition of uh, selling to stores and then just starting to sell directly to customers. Some people still weren't comfortable putting their cards online, and they would send us money orders, or they would call, ask for what they wanted, get a total, and they would send us a money order, or cashier's check, or things like that. Yeah. Here's some of the other things I have going out. Package for orders. This is the beanie, embroidered beanie, some shirts. Oops. So this is how I know what's what. I put the name of the shirt, I put the size, the color, and then I put the order number, and I get big stats like this, and then at the end of the day, I'll go through and like compile like which shirts go to which orders.
Mm-hmm. Nice, doing all that in-house.
I have another question.
Izzy, we have one more question.
Yes.
So, because you created so many designs over the years, can you reuse those designs, or do people's tastes change a lot, like over the years? Like, is that a thing? A drift in like preferences that you've
It's a good
noticed?
question. That's a great question. Okay, so when we were for the first about 27 or 22 years of running the business, from 97 to 2019, I was mostly getting things screen printed. And if you guys know anything about screen printing, they can't just print one, because it's such a setup process. They have to burn films, and they have to make sure all the colors are aligned. So it's a lot of work. That first shirt that comes off the printer, if you just paid for one, it would cost you like about $400. So you have to get a bunch printed in order to get the price down. So there are some designs that are older designs that were really popular that we could keep reprinting, and people would buy. Those were things like designs that were I have like spray paint cans, or like say like a DJ, like a turntable, things like that kind of never go out of style. There are some designs that were like maybe were like more trendy towards that time period. So in the say around 2005, there was a thing where like people like these prints that were kind of high up around your neck. So we did some like that, and those they did good for a while. Then they kind of fell off because the trends changed. In 2019, I bought a DTG printer, which means direct to garment, and it's basically just like a big printer where I can print shirts, and I can just print one of any design. So I was able to go back into my catalog of hundreds of designs and be like, oh, this one's great. Let me start offering this again. So I've done that. So yeah, there's a lot of designs that will just continue to sell. And there's some that that I personally like, and I think, oh, this one's a good design. I'm going to bring this back, and I put it up, and no one buys it. So, or I might get a couple sales. It's a little bit hard to gauge, but no. And the other thing with this is, the your market changes. Like some people like the people that were young and buy my clothes 30 years ago, they're all my age. They're like, in their mid 50s, some are in their 60s. Um, and there's a whole new generation coming up, and to them, the designs I have, they've never seen them. So yeah, that some of these designs are they're so old they're new, in a sense.
Okay, we got like six-ish minutes.
Okay.
I'm curious, when you hit, what do you do when you hit a wall? You're like a creativity wall. Like, what do you do when you're just like uninspired?
Usually, what I create, I will go through periods of like high creativity. Like I'll spend like a year or two or like 6 months where I'm creating a lot of artwork, and then I'll just kind of like stop for a while and kind of just work on things and do my regular life and you know work out, go hang out with my friends and kind of let the creative juices build back up again. But if I really have to be creative, I'll just do what I like to do, which is like for me, it's just even grabbing a marker and just I will burn through stacks of paper just with the marker, just writing, you know. And once I get going, I want to keep going. So
Okay,
yeah.
okay, cool. Any questions, guys, at all? Anything? Okay. Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
What keeps you excited about your work? I mean, you've been doing it for 30 years. I met you
So
forever long ago. So I'm just, why are you still doing it? I mean, obviously you love what you do most
well,
days.
so yeah, I don't really love the printing part. I'm good at it. And I do like when I see like a really nice print come out of my printer, I still get jazzed up and I still take photographs as it comes out of the printer and I post it on my Instagram. Um, but I went to an event this last weekend and I was supposed to set up in Bend and I got there a little late. So I kind of just enjoyed the event for a while. But then I saw what the other people were offering and no knock on anybody, but it's just really not on the same level of what I sell. So I went ahead and set up my table for about an hour, and it's good because I feel like there's something that I offer to the community that's unique. They're really no one else can offer exactly what I'm offering.
Mhm.
So
Perfect. I agree.
so that kind of charges my batteries a bit. And I like to talk to the people and I like to see their reactions when they see it, that they appreciate it because I've been doing it so long, it's kind of just it's just an everyday thing for me. But it's always good to see like people who've never seen the brand and come up and they kind of get jazzed about it. And, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see.
I have a question.
One more question.
Sure.
If you hadn't started your business, or when you did, or how you did, what would you guess your career path would have looked like instead? Like, what would you be doing right now if it wasn't for what you're doing right now?
That's really hard to say because at the time, so like when I got out of high school, I went right to work. I did try and do a junior college right away, and I didn't do well. The focus wasn't there. But I did go back to college around like 1995, and for some reason, it's like the light turned on, and I was kind of killing it. Um, and at the time we started the business, I stopped going to college in order to get the business going. So I'm not really sure where it could have taken me. I was really good. I was doing really well at like what was it, pre-calculus, which I've all throughout high school. I always thought I wasn't good at math. Turns out I was really good at math. But yeah, it's kind of hard to say I would have ended where I would have ended up.
Thank you. Was there anything else? I know we only got a few minutes, Izzy.
Sure.
Anything you want to, got like 4 minutes here. Anything you guys want to add or say?
I mean, I can show you some more. Like, let's see. These are transfers that I make here. So this is a product of a prod. I'm sorry. Process called DTF. It didn't exist when I bought my printer, but somebody figured out how to do it where you print on film and then you put powder on top of the ink. It's like a plastic powder, and then you melt it, and then you can press this using a heat press onto a shirt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a big time saver. So I'll run off sheets of these, and these are the logos that go on the back of shirts.
That's what we need for the Carlsbad shirts.
Yeah, it's great for simple shirts. There are people who do like really nice, like multicolor ones. I usually keep it simple for those. If I do the multicolor, I usually just print it directly on my printer. It comes out a little better, I think.
Okay. Is there any way to see the machines at all? Just like,
Sure,
like
yeah.
10 seconds?
Sure. Oops, let me see. Trying to figure out how to do this to you. Okay, I'll do it this way. Into the heat press. Right here. So this thing, let me see, I can't see it. Very much, see that or not?
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So this thing, I didn't realize how much of a moneymaker this is, but this thing's great. You have to get one thing, you want to do t-shirts, get one of these, because you can order the transfers from anybody. Like these right here, you can get these for 15 cents. I don't know if you can see it, but this is like a one color print. You press it for 7 seconds on this and it's done. This is my print room. It has to be like a certain temperature. And this is my printer. It's pretty big. These are the ink cartridges. There's a pouch in each one of these. Each pouch costs about 100 and, well, if I buy them through Brother, they're about 235 per pouch. But I found another company that I can get them for like about 120 per pouch. But it's a good amount of ink in there. And of course, I got multiple computers here to kind of operate things. I have a plotter over here for cutting vinyl, cutting stickers. I have a shelf full of like blank garments. These are all garments here that are ready to print that I have stacked up. Same with this stuff right here. I have, I do a lot of test prints for things, so I'll get t-shirts and I'll run a bunch of different tests.
Oh, okay. Izzy, I hate to cut
Yeah.
you off,
No worries.
but it's gonna end like any second.
Okay.
So if you guys could please say thank you. Thank you. Man, I
you.
heard one person.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Izzy, thank you so much. Okay, I'll send you a copy, my friend. I can't thank you enough.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, bye. You too.